Hey, aloha. Welcome to office hours for March 19th, 2023. I got small kind of technical difficulties right now. I'm trying to turn on my other monitor here. You may have noticed it started a little weird here. I'm just getting into the office a little bit late, but still showing up regardless, right? Because that's what I like to do. And let's see if I can get to my other monitor on. It looks like it's on, but it's not recognizing it, so I might have to fiddle with some things. So hang on one sec and let me see. Oh, which cable is it? I don't know. Even the USB camera is going off. Well, it looks like I can just solve this problem by going like that and moving that over there and just using this monitor. And we'll see what happens today, because I don't have my other monitor up, so we'll see. But anyway, let's start off with a little bit of higher wisdom. Oh man, Master Cho ain't in the frame anymore. But let's go. Today is grace. So it says, inside the strength of simplicity and self-knowledge, outside the beauty of acceptance and gentleness. This hexagram encourages you to cultivate a quality of grace in your relationships and in your general way of being. In this way, you gain a power greater than any other to open up a way through obstructions in your dealings with others. Good fortune is yours if you concentrate on bringing more grace to your thoughts and actions now. It is in human nature to want to use forceful ways to try to get what we want from others. And from life, right? Our egos encourage us to act aggressively, to speak boldly, to intimidate others, to buffalo our way through difficult situations. This false power can be momentarily satisfying to our ego, and temporary victories can be won in this way. But genuine power and lasting progress come from a different kind of strength altogether. They come from inner strength, which is characterized by a steadfast devotion to the principles of humility, simplicity, equanimity, and acceptance. By gradually letting go of the vain, bullying energy of the ego and accepting the quiet guidance of the higher power, one acquires the substance that makes ongoing good fortune a possibility. This is a time to relinquish self-important maneuvering. Instead, return to stillness and contemplate the inherent wisdom of the principles of the sage. By practicing quiet strength within and gentle acceptance without, you acquire a grace that dissolves all barriers to progress. Oh yeah, you guys get to see all the stuff on that shelf. My radio, all these things that usually are out of the frame, but since I moved the camera and it switched the angle and now I'm looking like this way to see the thing. Let's see, I can switch this over here using this mode. Okay, there. Better for me. So anyway, want to thank you guys for tuning in. What's up? We got BM from Japan. Ben, what's up, brethren? Dude, Hina is almost out of pooch snacks. We've been just feeding her a couple of those beef liver treats you got her each day. She's such a good girl. She's getting so obedient and just so loving and so nice. And it's really nice that you got those treats for her and thought of her and making my pooch so amazing. Western Australia, so Cyclopath, I don't know, in Germany, yeah. We just had some Germans stay with us and they were talking about the like, they're like, I don't even know if Germany's a place we want to live anymore. It's like, they're just saying like the gas, the inflation, all the, like, you know, like just the things, the traditions they've had. They've had like a bunch of immigrants, I guess, coming in, and it's just like, they walk down the street and now it's not even German being spoken. It's like other languages. And they're like, what's happened to us in the past couple of, you know, days? And I'm not against like multiculturalism or that kind of stuff, but I am for, you know, like preserving each place's culture and traditions, and like having these things where we go. It's a cool thing. And so when you get this like place where you lose your traditions because of other people moving in, it can add to different things, like such and so forth, as like one clear example of this in a natural farming realm is like the native Hawaiians that lived here. If you read Bill Mollison's permaculture manual, which in my opinion is one of the best books out there, especially on permaculture. Bill Mollison, just a legend. If you haven't read that book, check it out. But he talks about how in the intro of the book, he says like, look, you know, basically I'm modeling like a Hawaiian ahupua'a system. Like the traditional Hawaiians, the people that were living on the land here in Hawaii, were some of the best agriculturalists around. And his book is just trying to describe the systems that they had in place, you know, from cleaning the water with the lo'i systems and, growing food, you know, managing the oceans with loko'ia, which are fish ponds, you know, so they would catch sediments coming out of the rivers to really clean the place. And they were really focused on like this, you know, permaculture. Like what is permaculture? It's keeping the earth clean and fertile for the next generation, you know, so natural farming and it's systems to do that, right? Of figuring out how can you run a permanent culture? How can we exist now and forever, right? And that's what, like when we lose cultures, when we lose indigenous cultures, we lose those things, because now here in Hawaii, everyone's like driving a car, going to the Safeway, going to the Walmart, you know, and we're just like anywhere else. And we've lost this indigenous culture of folks that were like in tune with the land, where they were creating such a bounty that the state of Hawaii fed the California gold rush in 1849. Like there were ships just, you know, bringing food back and forth from here to there because, you know, because they were actually massacring the indigenous people there. Whoops. And I mean, to say whoops, it's so absolutely terrible. If you ever look up the California genocide on Wikipedia, you know, bring a box of Kleenex with you or tissue paper, not to be name brand, but you'll cry because it's so tragic of folks just eliminating indigenous cultures. And then with that, you know, the loss of these methods, and later we have to like rediscover these things, right? It's like, how do we actually live in harmony with this? And it's like, well, maybe the people that were here were doing that, but then we sort of eliminated them, or, you know, pretty much a genocide, you know. And so those types of things, that's why I see when I see the indigenous culture get lost, you know, whoever lives in that place and other outside people coming in, it can be good, right? I have a car, I drive to Hilo, you know, it only takes me like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get there. You know, it's nice. But then also think of the pollution I'm creating, think of, you know, like lack of culture, lack of community. As I drive in my car, I don't meet anyone else. I'm just boom, there, back. Right. And it's not like I don't have the time to like share some food with somebody, share some aloha, share this island, share this community with anyone, you know. And so we lose these, indigenous ways, these slower cultures that were like inferior, but totally superior when your aims are different, right? It depends on what your goal is, right? If your goal is just to make a bunch of people and stress out the ecosystem and create pollution, then we're on a great track. But if your goal is to like live permaculture, build better children, build better communities, build tighter families, build better bonds, build resilient food systems, and clean the soil, clean the air, clean the water, then we're probably not on the right track today. I mean, you and I here, if you're tuned into this, you probably are on the right track, and you're probably like, what are we doing as a larger society, right? But coming back to these, valuing this indigenous wisdom, right? In natural farming here too, this is like ancient indigenous wisdom. I've gone to and talked to people that were here, and they would talk about, when I was a small kind kid, had one old grandpa that used to take the rice and put them in a box and put them out in a sugar field. And sorry for my pigeon there, but like that's lots of people here, we talk with like what we call pigeon, right? So it's like, oh, the uncle, you went and put that thing out there, and it's like, and it's true. It's like, and so there was KNF, like someone was putting a rice box in a sugar field and collecting it and then using it in his garden. Oh, that old grandpa, he had the best kind of bok choy. The thing was huge. Everyone else bok choy kind of small. And so you find out, like, bro, someone back in the day when, and that story's from my Auntie Jane, who's 70, I think. She's about 70. So when she was young, cakey, like a teenager, she saw this. So somebody 50, 60 years ago was practicing KNF in Hawaii. But then we lost it, right? Because of, I don't know, but the indigenous cultures get lost. And that guy was a Japanese guy, so I'm not saying it was all like Hawaiians and indigenous and all these things, but it's just like, oh man, I don't know. I guess more than anything, I'm advocating for a culture that values the earth, that values permaculture, that values Korean natural farming, that values these microbes, that values deep soil, that values community, that values production, that values, and not like mining, taking production, but like giving, building, make the pie bigger instead of just taking more of your slice, like that kind of culture. And so I guess, I don't know, in all of it, it doesn't matter what race, where you come from, what you do. I mean, that's really what I want to advocate for. So sorry for a long rant on that, but really, it's just interesting to meet all these different people, to see all these different things, to understand how the earth's changing, our ecology, our economies, the global impact right now. So anyway, I'm stoked with this, with our natural farming thing, to see people tuning in from all over the world, to really connect with you through this. I hope I give you things of value. And Solar Gourmet is saying that, I guess that is a discussion in Germany of like things and all that. And what's up, Goofman? New York in the house. I always think of Jay-Z when I think of New York. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but anyway. And Cyclopath from Belgium, same problem here like Germany. We are being replaced. I moved to the quiet countryside. It's interesting. I mean, but really, it's about, educating everyone everywhere about how to be an earth steward, right? Even if someone moves in with a different language, if they're an earth steward, you're going to have so much in common with that person. You're going to be like, bro, you're breeding cows? I'm breeding cows. Wow, look at these. And like, like, oh, you got vegetables? Oh my gosh, I got these vegetables, right? I'm not all, just, like, so it's, all these anyway. And then let's see here, Partida, what's up from Spain, yo? I went yesterday to a field out just down the coast, Umalma, just about 15 minutes from here, and there were actually Lujan, Lujan, I think, family. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the J properly. I think it turns into an H, but Lujan family. So a bunch of Spanish roots here of people, and those folks were agriculturalists though, and so immigration, all this emigration, whatever, I'm not sure what the difference between the I and the E is, but bringing good people there and doing things all right. And mentioning Tataria, oh yeah, it's a Tartaria. Then get into the mud flood and all that. I'm sorry, Ben, about your dog, dude. I'm sorry, dude. It's so hard to lose a dog, but when they're old, that you've lived a great life with them. it's just, most of my dogs have died in the first couple of years of their life being hit by cars. And it's like, oh, it's way more tragic, because then you thought, oh man, I'm going to get pups from these dogs, and you don't, because they get run over and their heads are flat. Ugh. So anyway, and then speaking of pups, man, Spencer Karen, one of my favorite natural farmers in Idaho, and don't forget Cheryl, right? Cheryl's actually, I think, my favorite one there, but Spencer's right up there. Spencer's like, he helped officiate my wedding, but his pups just had pups. So more red healers in the world, which is good because, excuse me, as I get more into ranching and fresh raw milk, I always value Australian cattle dogs, man. Hard-working, fun-loving dogs that are just there for us all. So anyway, more red healers in the world. That's a good thing. Even though, yeah. So Milson. I haven't heard of Milson. Channel about Hawaii and reclaiming the water table. Huh. Yeah, I should, I just let my domain climatechangewarrior.org expire. I bought it last year. I think I talked about it. It was something I wanted to do. Then I realized, I'm spending $20 to do this, and I haven't done anything in a year. I'll probably just let it go. So I just let that domain expire. However, I did just renew naturalfarming.net, and I did let a few others expire. So I'm like, why am I spending so much money with GoDaddy or Amazon or whoever is my domain registrar at the time? You got an idea, got to implement it. And also this week, since a little bit more news, I was turning an IMO pile this past couple weeks. It took a long time, and I really kind of let it go at the end. And it was interesting to me because to see, it was getting down around 100 degrees. So I thought it was cooling down. I stacked it a bit higher and I thought I would be back up to my barn to turn it. And then I go up and it's this big pile that I left, and it was like 140 degrees on the inside. And it was interesting because it turned into 3 distinct layers. There was an outside layer, then there was a really gray layer, and then there was a darker layer. And so that's a sign that you've messed up your IMO pile. There shouldn't be color stratification in your pile from the outside to the inside. It means that you've let it overheat, and that I grew actinobacteria when I'm smelling that asphalt type of smell when I'm turning it. It's like, and so speaking of other projects to do and wanted to do and haven't done, yay, thank you, super chats, yay, super chats, yay, super chats. You're amazing. Thank you. You're amazing. Yay. It really keeps me going on this. Thanks for those. But the IMO pile basically has these 3 color stratifications, and that's a sign like, ooh, you messed up, right? It should be all homogeneous in terms of its color, and the color should turn from whatever your substrate is into more like a grayer color, but not like powdery gray, not like whitish gray. And I'm probably the worst person to tell you about what color it turns into, because I'm like colorblind. I don't see red really at all. I mean, I do see some of it, but not really. I see it enough to know that I don't see it. It doesn't pop to me. So everyone else, I think red is like blaring at them. For me, red is like almost like brown. It's very subtle. It's very like blending in type of color. So I don't see that. So I'm not the best person to get color references off, but I can see differences, right? I maybe not be able to determine what color it is, but I can see that they're different, right? Because hue and saturation, all those other things, I think my eyes can still perceive. But I can't see, color per se, the same way you do, or any, who knows, maybe if you're colorblind, maybe I see it the same way you do, but I highly doubt that. I mean, who knows how long my rods or cones or whatever. I think it's cones are. I think they're very short cones. Or they don't pick up the red frequency for some reason. So anyway, but the IMO, the nose and the smell so I kind of blew it on the pile at the last minute, and I really need my IMO buddy. So one of the projects I do want to follow through with, especially with these, had some little life changes these past week. I mean, if you tuned in 2 weeks ago, you saw me in not so great of a state and getting back from that. Hey, Cheryl, what's up? Yay. And so, but the IMO buddy, the basic way it works is there are 4 temperature probes, and on these like about, let's say 3-foot cords. So it enables me to put like 1 temperature probe in the center of the pile, 1 on the edge, 1 on the, whatever, figure out 3 places to put them in the pile, and then put 1 up in the air. So it measures the air temperature next to it. And then with that, I can send the data through the local area network and maybe bring it through MQTT down here to this machine and have this thing then log that MQTT data and then build temperature graphs. And I have done that in the past with a smaller pile. I don't know, I was graphing something. I forget. Maybe I was graphing the pile. I don't know. I was graphing something. Yeah. But looking forward to actually building that and then maybe bring that to like a commercial product. Maybe see if I could do like a Kickstarter or something and bring it into something where it would actually be a, because how cool is that to have an IMO buddy? I mean, I guess you could use like a barbecue grill or something. They may sell a commercial product that would already work. And if you know what it is, drop it. I always watch YouTubes and they're always like, if you know what it is, drop it in the comments. And I think it's just a manipulation to get more comments so that the video trends higher. But if you do know, do drop it in the comments so I can look at it and see. I'm not just trying to get more things, hit that like button, right? You watch any live YouTube and they're just like constantly hounding their audience to do that. It probably helps the algorithm. It probably helps, more people see this kind of stuff. But really what I'm interested in is getting more tools to people to make better IMOs and get these things out there so that we can turn better microbes, because the pile that I just made is going to be superior. And I was talking with Suze the other day up at the barn where we're turning this, and she said, well, we'll just make this one for chicken food. And I was like, no. Actually, the worst thing you can do is take your bad IMO and feed it to your animals. Because instead of actually being a benefit to them, it's actually like feeding them a bunch of actinomycenes, and it's actually going to like take nutrients from them. Actinomycenes, if you look it up, is what grows when it overheats and it has that asphalt type smell. It actually is like a cleaning microbe. Like, so say I had a contamination of like a bunch of bad stuff, like bacterias or like powdery mildew or something. If I made an actinomycenes tea or spray out of this actinomycenes, like what I consider kind of not so good IMO, it's still indigenous microbes, but it's not the microbes you're looking for. That it would be good to cleanse and clean things out. And so it'd actually eat out the other IMO, and it would actually be more of a clean the slate type of thing. And of course, it's going to be outcompeted once it really hits a system. But if I brew it in a tea and I make it to large volumes and then I put it onto something, it would be more of a cleansing thing, killing the other microbes. And so I don't want to put it in the animal food, because that would get, I don't want to feed the chickens this cleansing thing where it's going to strip out their gut microbes and strip out their other things. I want to feed them good IMO with nice fungus and bacteria and those things. And this is just my understanding. It could be completely wrong. I don't know. Partita's a super scientist. She'll probably get onto me on that. So you don't want to feed bad IMO to your livestock. What should I do with it if it's bad IMO? Well, that's always a good question. And a compost pile where I'm going to heat it up and use it to break down other microbes. In fact, I think I'm going to use this one on my pastures a little bit, because it's more grass, it's more bacterial. I'm just going to kind of spread it out and do those things. And Rainbow Possum Farm is mentioning that brassicas like actinobacteria rather than mycorrhizal fungi, which is true, but you're never going to grow mycorrhiza in your IMO pile. At least that's my understanding. Mycorrhiza grows in roots with specific root things, and you're not going to grow mycorrhiza. You're going to grow other types of indigenous soil microbes that we really haven't studied that well, but I don't think they're mycorrhiza, because that would indicate that they're having a relationship with the root and they're tapping into the root, and there's no roots in my thing. So it's not mycorrhiza, it's other types of fungi. And it's not like the decomposing ones, it's not the mycorrhiza, but it's the other set. And on my shelf behind me, which you can't see because it's behind my chair because I changed the camera angle, there's a very great book called Mycelium Running by Paul Stamets, and he goes over that stuff, and I should probably look at it. And there you go, it's endophytic. That's the word we're looking for. And thanks, Partita. Those are the microbes we're primarily growing, I think, as endophytic ones. I'm pretty sure. I really need to brush up on this, but I'm pretty sure that's more of what we're doing there. What's up, Thomas? So Partita saying, I'll ask what people use here. We set up a composting system recently, but it's not my area, so I didn't pay lots of attention. Yeah, so thanks for finding those microbes. And then Partita's also saying, for sure, I think you could do a CO2 burst rate test to ensure that you have good respiration and thus prove you have a good and ready product. And that would be interesting. Actually, that's something else I can do with the microcontrollers, is they sell CO2 monitoring systems. And, that would be an interesting thing, to put a few of those also hooked to the microcontroller and to plot the CO2 respiration as well. Even it would be interesting to temperature probe the, making a KNF food where I'm fermenting the plants, and see the temperature and measure the gas contents coming out and the respiration and how all these microbes are doing these things. There's some Bill Gates hands for you there. But yeah, that would be super interesting to look into. Yeah. So anyway, building these little microcontroller devices, it's a passion of mine. It's a hobby. I love messing around with microcontrollers, writing little softwares, maybe bring some AI into it. Who knows? Hopefully not. Keep the AI away from the natural farming. It's kind of funny to me that when I think of AI, I think AI is going to take over the world. What I mean by that is the Hawaiian AI. So Okina AI, where you say I is food, and so I is definitely the thing that's always ruled the world and always will rule the world. Is I, not AI, like some computer is going to do, sure, it manipulates you on the internet, sure, it changes your algorithms, sure, it suggests what you're going to do, and if you're suggestible and you're not steadfast against mind control, the AI is controlling you. But if you are steadfast against that, and it just takes, shutting down the data centers and there's no more AI, and that just takes, not feeding that the energy. But without AI, without food, we're done for. So it's really about the I, which is kind of funny. The Hawaiians were like some future thinking people. And then it just turns out that, it's the funny joke of God, how it's like these convergences of names and things and future technologies and all these things. I tend to idealize the Hawaiian culture just because they really, this land was paradise. There wasn't even grass. There was just ferns. There was massive agriculture. They were so abundant. And I tend to idealize that. And I also know that they were raising pigs with Korean natural farming. And they didn't call it that, of course, but it was the no-smell inoculated deep litter systems. And that's why they had, ahu pua'a, which is ahu marking, or ahu, like God arising, pua'a, like of the heart of Sirius. but it actually means marking stone of the pig in a certain thing. And so they divided their land sectors up by, which pigs belong to which place. And that was their richness. And that was their bank, right? Their piggy bank, which I've talked about several times. But it's always fun to romanticize the past and pretend like everything was great and that we've brought a lot of innovation. So anyway, it turns out, I guess this office hour is a lot about those types of things, which it's something I just like to rant about, because I used to have a business card that said politician, wizard, natural farmer. And I would always see which people looked at me the most skeptical, to be like, you're a politician, a wizard, and a natural farmer. It's like, who does that? I should also probably write computer engineer, or like, although I'm not really a computer engineer, more a software engineer. Although I do mess around with microcontrollers and things, but I'm not really like, a little bit of soldering here and there. So anyway, getting back over here, and Partita's saying about the endophytes that they have root hairs. So typically when you pick up a root and you look at it and you shake it, and all that dirt is sticking to it and it's all in those root hairs, it's usually a sign you got really good soil. So I would assume you want a lot of endophytes in your soil, and perhaps that's what we're growing with KNF. I really need to refresh on that. And side root hairs, like that's a sign of a healthy plant. It's a sign that it's able, the more root hairs you have, the more nutrition a plant is naturally able to get out. And typically with more root hairs, there's more fungus, and that's even, again, solubilizing more of these nutrients right in the root zone, right where you need it to be solubilized. And I don't think you'll find a plant with like good endophytic connections that's sick. I could be wrong, I don't know, but I think that's like it's like a thing that's matched up there. Yeah, and so little devices that can help people be better farmers, especially in my case here, where we farm this land's 25 acres, and my family, my mom, my dad, my wife, and myself farm this, so it's like, it's four people. And so any device, anything that we can do to make us more efficient and effective, and also reducing the pollution and all those other side effects. I was just talking, that's actually why I'm kind of a little late here. I was just talking with my wife about, I was watching a Mr. Beast where they flew an airplane around, it's the last person to take their hand off an airplane wins it type thing, like classic Mr. Beast type of good fun stuff. But after they were done flying the airplane around, he was like, yeah, and but don't worry, we offset all the carbon credits for this flight, so don't worry, we're good. And I'm like, but what about the energy? Like carbon credits, carbon credits, right? Like, it's like, what about the toxins you released? Like, so someone sequestered the carbon someplace, which, is shady at best of saying that's net benefit for the earth. But what about all the toxins and poisons that were in that jet fuel that you spread into the upper atmosphere that then are going to rain down on the ground? What about the energy that you burned? If fossil fuels take a long time to regenerate in the earth, which and some people would argue they don't even regenerate, but I do believe it's like something that the earth regenerating, and that majority of the theories on it are kind of not correct, but that could be in its own controversy. The main thing is that it regenerates slowly. I think that's something, they take a long time to produce is a better way of saying it, because regenerate brings you into like you'd have to believe that they regenerate, but they're produced very slowly over the course of millions of years. I think that's something everyone could agree with, is that they're produced very slowly. And so you use that energy. So you offset your carbon, great, but you just stole energy from your children. How'd you offset that energy, bro? And so not to like call out Mr. Beast on this, but it's just like this thinking of like saying, oh, I offset the carbon here, like we're all good. It's like, what about the pollution? What about the energy? Right? And that's, you're stealing energy from the future generations. And now your little flight around to like take your last hand off was fun, but now your children like have to live in absolute poverty because there's no energy, right? And it was mismanaged energy. So anyway, this is getting into like pretty interesting territory of this, but just when I look at that, and that's like the meme, that's like the popular thing to say to all the new kids is like, we offset the carbon. It's like, what about the energy? What about the pollution? You know, that's the thing of that natural farming brings back, right? I'm actually, when I go out to farm, I can actually produce more energy than I burn, depending on how I do it, right? But that, you know, capturing that sunlight, they're the most, you know, plants are some of the most efficient captures of plant or of energy, because you could say solar panels are, but then you got to factor in the manufacturing cost, right? A plant gives me another seed, which gives me another free solar panel, right? And that's pretty darn free versus having to go to the earth and to mine all these things to make these silicon wafers and to make all this like high tech solar panel stuff. Like I bring it back to like, my friend is like, you know, I've never seen two bicycles go in a field and make a tricycle, where I've seen two horses go in a field and make a third, you know, pony, right? And so it's like this idea of like, sure, you can manufacture some sort of thing, but nature and like seeds and like plants that produce more seeds and more solar panels and more carbon sequestration, that puts us as natural farmers as like these frontline environmental, like we're really making a difference. It's not just like, oh yeah, we got more solar panels, so now we got more energy. It's like, no, we got more plants and now we got more energy, and that biomass can then be used in lots of ways to benefit society. It ties up toxins, it cleans the soil, it cleans the air, and now we got more energy out of the system. And it's energy that's really the bottom line here. And we're running out of it pretty quick. If you ever tune into, you know, Chris Martenson, Peak Prosperity, you know, those types of ideas of like understanding, you know, like I talked about a while ago, also Professor Bartlett, the most important video you'll ever see, the exponential theory on how energy and then economies and all these things are related. And it's like natural farming, a little bit of sugar, some plant material, some microbes stacked in the right way, turned, kept at the right temperature. We're truly making more energy for the planet. We're truly making more prosperity for future generations. We're truly doing this. And not tell you like, oh, inflate your ego and like make you all this, but it's like, this is true tech. This is real stuff. This is where it's at. So, so let's see here. I got a few questions since I've been ranting here. You guys are so great. Thanks. Hope you guys enjoy this too. You know, and take these ideas and then promulgate them further, because, or, you know, tell people, hey, check that out. If you can get a hold of Mr. Beast or Joe Rogan, I'd love to talk to those two guys, because Mr. Beast, I think I could fix and help his Crohn's disease and solve his digestive issues. And then, my sister's calling me. I got to call her back later. But, and then Joe Rogan, I'd love to sit and talk to him for like 2-3 hours and just blow his mind, where he loves Hawaii. He loves, you know, he's trying to do good for the world. You know, and reason I'd like to get on there is because like that audience, like having those people understand, like getting this Korean natural farming message to like millions of people in this way. Not millions of people already know, trust me, but getting it to where it's like, you know, a little bit celebrity endorsed. You know, like that would be just huge for this. So if anyone has any connections with those guys, you know, let me know. I'd love to, like, you know, kick it with Jimmy or Joe, and you know, really help them out, really give them good solutions, and not you know, not just fantasy stuff, but really talk about like serious, like climate change. Like, how are we going to address this to bring a better, healthier planet for future generations, for future prosperity? And not just like, oh, idealized, but like actual practical solutions, where it's like, you do this stuff and you see results like that, right? And how do we get this into, you know, I did talk to Gabe Brown, actually, you know, but it's hard to plant a seed in a 5-minute conversation, right? I was like, well, what if you know, you didn't plant, because he's all about polycultures, right? He's about multi-species cropping into his fields to make the earth better. I'm like, what if you ran a monoculture, but the microbes in the soil thought it was a polyculture, and they went about it and made the soil richer, and you're still able to do a monoculture? And I just asked him that question, and I walked away. I was like, you know, I just wanted to give him a little bit of thing to chew on. And I don't know how much he took that to heart and thought about it. And he was like, man, I got to talk to that guy in the orange hat again. He asked a question I never thought about before. You know, but it's hard. It's hard to get these ideas right because it's a paradigm shift. You got to be like, I was talking to a guy the other day, it's all, you know, NPK doing this stuff. And I was telling him, I'm like, look, you can do this natural farming. And he's like, it's such a different paradigm, but it's also the same. And it's like understanding this is like the root, real underlying operating system. And then when you're into this, then you can still use synthetic fertilizer if you wanted to. I mean, the energy for that is like, you know, it's going to be hard to balance out again, the energy pollution for future generations, but that you can still get that same level of production. You can still continue the same thing you're doing and just include a little microbes in there and start to build this way. And that's how we're going to transition. That's how we're going to, you know, crack the skulls and get those ideas in there, right? Or repair the skulls and actually have better skin, right? These ideas of, you know, talking about feeding the AI natural things. Nature is better than AI. AI is based actually on nature. So feeding this fake thing, real stuff to make you may as well just go straight to nature. Instead, bypass the AI, go straight to nature and just get, it's like rooting your phone. You want to get down to the root. You want to actually really do things on your phone. Go straight to nature. Don't computers, all that. You don't need. It's good. It's good for communication. It's good for networking. It's good for these things. But I can do this. Okay, and then I'm back a little bit on the chat here, obviously, but I'm just going to follow up these things real quick because I've been ranting for a while. It says, sorry for a new question. This is BM in Japan. All of a sudden, but on the KNF food in terms of liquid viscosity described through pancake batter, are we trying to make too much milk runny type KNF food at first, or should it be perfect pancake batter then super saturated is the way too thick of a batter? Your KNF foods in all my cases are liquid. They should be like juice concentrate, basically is the texture they should be. Certain plants you do, like for instance, I ferment an edible spinach here. It becomes very viscous because it's very sticky. It's almost like it'll form these like strands as it's dripping. So there are very few plants out there that have like gooey type nature. Vast majority of them are liquid, like a juice concentrate. So they should be viscous, is what I would say. So if your thing is non-viscous, I need to review your what you're doing to see there may be something amiss there, because I don't get something that's very viscous very often. And what's up, Joe? Usually add roots of various plants from the forest areas into my IMO pile, assuming I'm getting mycoriza into the mix. Okay, adding roots into there to think that you're getting mychoriza, I'm not sure, because really the plant has to be connected to the other parts and it has to pump the sugars out to create that mycorrhizal connection. I'm not sure if you just take the roots and put them in there because they're like dead and disconnected, it would create a mycorrhizal connection. So I'm not sure on that, Joe. Interesting thing to like scope to find out if you do have mycorrhiza, but I'm thinking it's not. I think you need living plants to create mycorrhizal relationships. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's the exudates and it's this relationship of the plant puts out sugars and the mycorrhiza loves that sugar and then it grows. So if you just took the roots, I don't think it's pumping those sugars out. I mean, sure, there's maybe some residual, but I don't think it's going to get the full way it would if the plant was actually there, So I don't know. However, on that, one thing I have done in the past is in my IMO tea, where I use the waterfall with the vortex. So you can look up my vortex IMO machine. I put living plants up in the IMO tea. So it's almost like an aquaponics system. As the water's falling through that waterfall, hitting the crystals, it goes in and there's living roots in there. And so I thought I was maybe getting mycorrhiza that way in a liquid tea because those plants are still alive and they're still photosynthesizing. It's almost like a little hydroponic, aquaponic type thing. So that way I thought maybe I was getting mycorrhiza, but it's still, I'm not sure on that. It's way out of the, nature in that case. So, oh man. Okay. What's up, Tyler? Oklahoma in the house. And someone else from Oklahoma messaged me the other day. We really got to get our directory up. We got to meet with Suze. We just had some interesting things happen us the past couple weeks. So kind of got off topic for a lot of that stuff, but we'll get back into that. Is there a KNF tech for protecting plants from larger animals like birds and deer? Fencing. No, I mean, how do I protect my crops from pigs? Fence. Birds, I just let the birds do their thing. And deer, I don't have any deer. Rifle, but no, shoot them, ferment them. I don't know. No. There are things like biodynamics where they talk about, taking the animal, like say rats were getting in your garden. You take the rats and you burn them, and then you take the ashes of the rats and you pepper that around. I think it's called peppering, actually, is what it's called. I don't know how well that works. I've never tried it. People have tried it with slugs and things. I don't know. I don't know if it works. But yeah, there's no real tech on that besides, physical, we're nature's caretaker. I think God said that somewhere in the Bible. He was like, in that part, we got to be kind of in charge. It's, I don't know. So anyway, I'm just gonna let go of that one at just fencing and such, or a shotgun, Once inside the root system, the plant secretes peptides which dissolve the cell linings of bacteria and then use the gradient flows to mine bacteria of nutrition. Man, Partita is like a super scientist. I should have Partita should do an office hour, I swear. I would watch that. And would anything from JADAM suite deter animals? If the animals care about stinky things, then all of JADAM would be applicable. Another way to deter the animals is have the animals drink the JADAM stuff. They'll definitely die. Oh man, I just love talking crap about it because it's so disgustingly cheap and so gross. But yeah, JADAM would deter anything from it. The only reason you use it is because of cost advantage, right? So anyway, there's a lot of reasons to use it. Don't let me talk too much crap about it, please. I just call it disgustingly cheap KNF. It's disgusting and it's cheap. So anyway, the rich corporations can buy credits. The small farmers can't pay for it in the future, let alone the high-tech expensive stuff they want to use. I really hope EU regulations will calculate that in. It's true. It's kind of a thing, like even in small-scale animal slaughter, right? There's these regulations that are passed that say you have to have a USDA inspector in America. You have to have all these things. And you have to do all this. And it puts a small person out of business while it puts the biggers in business. And the bigs tend to have the bigger problems. And so it's always these things they came up by corporations. These solutions they're giving us further the corporations, these big central controlled things, and it takes the power away from the small people. And it's like, really what we need is more small people distributed doing more natural farming. And that's the solution, not just big in all this and these regulations. I'm kind of a libertarian, man. So don't, regulations are not my thing. At all. Every time I see regulations, it benefits the big people that sponsored it, and it always pretty much hurts the small people. There's very few exceptions to that. I'm not saying that it's absolute, but it tends to be the case. So I should look up James White. I will. There's my pen. I'll write that down. James White. I'll report back to you next week of what I learned to get into rhizophagy and how plants feed themselves using symbiotic microbes and endophytic or ectopic processes. Yes. Teaming with bacteria, of course. I should reach Rogan through a comedy club or something. Maybe he goes to Hawaii. He does come to Hawaii. But just reach out to him. I'm sure he always needs interesting new interviews. I would email him. Maybe I should. I actually haven't even tried to direct email him to be like, hey, one thing is like, maybe I lack the self-confidence on it, but I do have a repertoire. You know, you look at my office hours, it's like I'm putting these things out. I've written some books, you know, those things. So, Weston, I knew these old timers. Okay, dog hair. Yeah. And then there are ways with dog hair and human hair to put them around fences to keep things away. I've heard of that. Tickles the pigs' noses. But I've always just, you know, fence or a shotgun or a dog. Or a rifle, you know, 308, pick them off further away. A fence, nylons. Yeah. Yeah, birds are pretty easy to keep away. You know, in Korea, when we go there, you know, you'll be at the hotel and all of a sudden there's like, and the farmers have these speakers that just play these sounds in a row, you know, just to keep whatever. So it's just a recording that's always playing of just like these disturbing noises of like animals screaming, roaring, predatory roars, guns going off, you know, to keep plant or pet predators of that type away. You know, when they hear that, it's not like they're gonna go like hang out by the loudspeaker, right? Yeah, permaculture solutions would be able to push for a more complete and balanced ecosystem so that the food web takes care of itself and can be hard with deer since the predators are gone. Yeah, and deer are part of the food web and nature and everything. So that deer poop, you know, you keep them away and now you're not getting that deer poop coming back. You know, they're not munching on the shrubs to keep them in optimal growth. You know, there's all kinds of things. Like deer have their place, right? So thinking we just need them to go away. Yeah, and also possums mentioning keeping a hedgerow, so a sacrificial plant for the deer to eat so that they're not interested in your plants. You know, you look at animals, they're very specific browsers. They eat their favorite food first. So plant their favorite food around, they'll eat that instead of eating your stuff, right? So it's another way to deal with it is, you know, just give them an environment they want to be in versus your place. And, you know, so make your place less appealing and make another place more appealing. And then, you know, now you're still respecting nature and all these things. And then BM saying here, had a bunch of sardines, but my container was too small, so the bottom had lots of sugar, one layer, good sugar. Then I combined the layers 2 and 3 and put the sugar on top because I ran out of space too much. That seems fine. Fish amino acid, it's really just, you know, if you put all the fish in and put all the sugar on top, you'd probably be okay. I've never done it that way. I always lasagna layer it. But, you know, as long as you're balancing equal weight of fish to equal weight of sugar, you should be pretty good. It'll work. You know, I obviously need to experiment with that, and I recommend lasagna layering it, but not cutting it up. No, don't get gross. Just put it in the bucket, put the sugar in, put the fish in, be done with it. That's the way to do it. Anything to be careful of if, you know, after your fish aminos, your fuel, open it the next day. If it smells like rotten fish, add more sugar or push the fish under, put a stone on there to keep the fish under the liquid. Fermented deer juice. Yep. And that's the thing. If you don't have access to fish, ferment those deer, ferment those rats, ferment those voles, or, you know, whatever you got. Ferment them, man. It's great aminos. The fish have different oils and things, but just mush them. Yeah. So there are German Shepherd. That will keep your things away. A Australian cattle dog. I have a Dalmatian. Dalmatians are awesome guard dogs. I'm training her to kill pigs right now. She's a little shy. She's a small thing, but yeah, fermented deer juice. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait till that hits the shelves. Right? It's like KNF fermented deer juice. People are like, what, dude? For some reason, fish amino acid seems more fermented fish juice. Yeah, ugh. So they call it amino acid. Deer DAA deer amino acid. I don't know. And Partita, you're shy. It's okay. It's okay. That's okay. I'm happy to relay this information for you. Be the face. I was just talking to Suze about this, about like, having to be like the front man of natural farming, and like not trying to be like pump up my ego or be like, a narcissist or these things, and lots of people that rise to power become narcissists. But I hope you guys, I'm not, or whatever. I'm always like, now I'm questioning myself because I've just had some of these issues arise of like other people near me have struggled with some issues. And I'm just like, is that me? Oh gosh. And I hope I'm not. I hope I'm really trying to big up other people, lift other people up. Someone has to be the front man, right? Someone has to be like the lead singer, but oh, thanks. Oh, Stone Meza. Oh, look at that sweat. See, I guess maybe that makes it so like I'm not narcissistic. I'll embarrass myself. Look at this. Oh, yeah, I have armpit sweat. There's no way I can be that cool. It's not that I'm nervous. It's just, sometimes when I do this. So Partita, don't worry. Like sometimes you get armpit sweat and people are like, oh, no. But the more you put yourself out there, the more you go, the more people will be like, wow. And everyone appreciates a reluctant leader. People are so ambitious that like they want to lead, that they're gonna enough to like cut other people down, or like, like those are not the leaders you're looking for, right? It's the people that lead reluctantly, that they're with humility, that are like, it's like, oh man, but someone got to do it. Someone got to be the front man of the band, or front woman of the band, right? And everyone in the band, but it's the thing, like I was just, the best bands are the ones that like, front person's there and they're like, oh yeah, but they lift the other people up and they're like, you know what? I wouldn't be here without these other folks, and I wouldn't, and all this. And for me being in front of KNF, being like the face of this, for at least this segment, and, you folks tuning in, it's like, I wouldn't be here without all the other people in my life. I wouldn't be here without, Master Cho, which he's right over here on the wall right there. Yeah, you can see him. Hey, what's up, Master Cho? I keep him in here to keep myself humble. I keep him in here. It's hard to point backwards. There. It's hard to keep it together. It's hard to be like, I would be nothing without him, right? I'd be just like, I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably still be, who knows, drinking Rockstar program, a computer, losing all my teeth or something. It's like, nah, here I am caretaking the earth, like really trying to make a difference, trying to teach people about pollution, trying to teach people about all these things. And like, really, so Cabela's would sell it. Just come in, buy a shotgun and get a free thing of fermented deer juice. Yeah, man. Maybe, I don't know if it would be a deer attractant or repellent if you had fermented deer juice. Someone should try that. I don't have deer here, so I can't. And so anyway, happy to be this front man, happy to run out here and do these things. And I've learned a lot, and I'm happy to share and all this. And I do this office hour every week, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And Joe here is saying thanks, man. And it's really, yeah. I'm trying to take that to heart, because I really, like, thanks. And I see it, and sometimes it's so hard for me to feel the coming into me of like, people say thanks, and I'm like, I'm just doing what God wants me to do, right? Like, it's hard to feel like I'm worthy of anything, but so it goes. That's my own struggle. And Joe was saying here, I wonder if I have any mycoriza in my soil, because where I live used to be nothing but potato farms until about 60 years ago. And that soil disturbance couldn't have been good for it. Yes. So you're not going to have a lot of, so the thing is, once you get other roots in there, you'll get more mycoriza. And you start doing good soil practices and you'll get the mycoriza. And especially as you bring in diversity, you don't want a monoculture of mycorrhizae. You don't want more mycorrhizae than is possible to be there. So by using IMO, cultivating it, capturing it from the forest, putting it back, doing it the right way, doing these things, you will get mycorrhizae to come back, and they will come back vast and quick. That's the thing. These microbes are so quick, how they restore the earth, how they heal everything. It's like every other solution takes years. These microbes are like overnight. It's not like, within a few weeks, within a year, it's like, oh my gosh, my soil's so rich. I can't believe this. Before it was hard as cement, and now I can take a 10-foot pole and drive it down. It's like, this is the goods, man. And this is the thing. We need to get into it. And, Roller City is asking, random hypothetical question. Is it possible to combine KNF bioponics or biofilters with DWC of some sort? I don't know what DWC is. But I'm sure KNF is possible to combine with everything. Even the most Babylonian chemical stuff, KNF fits in. It really is. It's what we've been missing. Deep water culture. Okay, deep water culture. Heck yeah. Stonemason. You have the pond. You've been doing it, right? Like, it's awesome, right? And Luca is saying, would you prefer JMS or IMO? Newbie myself, but I was recommended to start with JMS before IMO. Absolutely. If you're a brand new newbie, start with JMS. You can't mess it up. It only takes a few days. Like, for me, it takes 24 to 48 hours. It depends on your temperature. It might take a little longer, but start with JMS. Starting with IMO is like trying to do multivariable calculus. Starting with JMS is like learning addition. You probably want to start with addition before you try to go to take the derivative of multi-changing variables or the integral, right? I mean, it's like, start simple, JMS, you're going to benefit from it. It's good. It's something that you can build and graduate into IMO and these other things. Conceptually, they're very similar. How they actually operate, very different, but the end benefit you see is great from either. So start with it, do it. And IMO is very difficult. Like I said, I'm like, almost 15 years plus experience doing this, and I just messed up an IMO pile. But I have the skills enough to know, and the sense enough to know I messed up the IMO pile. If you're brand new, you're probably going to mess it up, and you're not going to know you messed it up, and that's like even worse. So start with the JMS. Yeah, just start with it on bare soil. Do it. It's going to be great. You're going to get you'll see it. The soil will start to get more fluffy. Like 2-3 days after you've done it, you're going to see the soil's more fluffy. And start with it. If you're not building anything, IMO's getting all this stuff, like you're getting into a whole system. It's like like JMS is like 101, like your starting class. IMO, it's like 304, 404. It's like you're getting up to like the higher level courses where it's like you're about to graduate. Like, not to say you can't start with it. Sure, you could jump into it, but you're gonna be like, oh man, like this is overwhelming and things. And yeah, and Stonemason said he messed up his first 4 piles. It's like, so start with the JMS, get there, do it. It's cheap, it's easy. You can mess up 3-4 times and only cost you like a week. Versus IMO, it's like it's a 4-week process at minimum, and it's or not really. I mean, it can be quicker than that, but it's like, so start there, do it, get some microbes out there, and also thank you, Cheryl, thank you. I appreciate it, and the community and everything, and how you support this. Cheryl, thank you. So start there. Another place to start with the KNF food. So go ferment a plant and get the plant juice from it, or go ferment a deer. Shoot, you can catch one. But start with the plant juice, and as a noob, start there. Do JMS, do a fermented plant juice, make a KNF food. Those are the easiest. Calcium, cook some eggshells, dissolve them in vinegar. Right? Like, start with the easy things. IMO, you can wait for it. You don't need it right away. If you start with these other things, you're going to get better results anyway. Anyway, 10:04 here on Hawaiian Standard Time. I want to thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys, making this community bigger, better, everything. I think we're doing a good job. Slow and steady. That's my motto. We're going slow. We're going steady. Appreciate it. We're doing it. And, got some raw milk as the proof, making my pastures better. We'll continue to do the good things. I want to appreciate you. And Cheryl's saying start with chicken amino acid. Chickens die randomly, right? Yep, I've had those. And do I have a class there? If you wanting to get a class, reach out, Drake, Drake, at PureKNF. That's PureKNF.org. So Drake at pureknf.org. Email me. We can set something up. I don't have any classes scheduled right now because I got so much other stuff going on. But if you come here and you stay at my place, and you come and you stay at the Airbnb, and you're like, man, I want to learn, I will teach you everything within my power to get you tuned for exactly what you need. And we can do specialized training, and we can work out some exchange of payment and those things. You know, I'm a pretty nice, accommodating guy that loves to help people out, especially if they're going to go out and do this. And, you know, but I also appreciate Federal Reserve notes because things cost money, and I'm trying to grow my farm and build everything. And so I need to have an exchange for my time, right? So does everybody. And that's why I really appreciate super chats, because this time that comes to me and all this stuff. But anyway, and typical cost for the Airbnb a night is like $100, $120. Depends. If you stay in the King, it costs a little bit more. Then we have 2 other cottages with queens, but yeah. So you gotta pay for the cost of that, and then a little bit for me to train you, or not. I mean, whatever you want to just totally stiff me on that. Like, you know, that's your karma. But yeah, reach out, do it, show up, and room could fit 3 people. I mean, potentially, I bet you could fit 300 people in that room if you really had a bunch of contortionists. But it you know, they're king or queen beds, and we also have some futons you can throw on the floor. So potentially could fit 3 people. You got 3 homies, you want to come here, you want to stay in a cottage, want to learn with me, you want to do those things, you know, reach out, schedule it up. Let's do it, because then you can go out and you can train more people, take the load off me. That's like huge. That's awesome. Folks like Cheryl out there teaching. And also, just before I go, I want to mention, if you are in Brazil, check out Pedro Meza. He's on Instagram. He's around. He's teaching some classes. They're coming up. He just came here. He just learned. He's awesome. Really cool dude. You're going to love him. And so, yeah. Anyway, I want to thank you guys. Again, I just ranted for 3 more minutes, but thank you for checking it out. Thanks for enjoying these things. Tell your friends, tell your family. Do natural farming. Get it good. Love you guys. I'm going to switch to this. If I click this, hang on, because I'm not in studio mode. It has some technical difficulties today, but let me see. Okay. I got it set up to get out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this curtain now. So thank you. Love you. Long live the natural farming. See you next week or whenever we do. Thank you.